Well, Lecrae, it's good to have you up here today.
Good to be here. Good to be here. You all look good out there. You look good. Now, am I on the? Is this the first half of the wine or the second half of the wine? It's still kind of quiet. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we could tell they were enjoying themselves. And you know, over the years, you know, for those that don't know, I mean, you've been doing your thing for what, almost 20 years now.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been enjoyable though. I can't believe the opportunities I get, places I get to go. It's been amazing.
Nice. And now, I mean, you've won Grammys. You getting dropped in Kendrick Lamar songs now.
And Simone Biles on social media.
Yeah, Simone actually asked me to go on tour with her, but my back handspring isn't working like it needs to work. So she'll be a fan from afar, I'll be a fan from afar.
If you want to take a few minutes and practice, we'll tell you what we think.
It's fine.
Now, one of the reasons we're truly excited to have you here is because of what you stand for. And just how you unashamedly, you know, spread hope and give a gift of hope to so many people. So it's an honor, man, seriously.
Thank you.
And you share some different things a lot in your books, your podcasts, of the challenges that you faced, you know, growing up, single parent home, absent father, moving around a lot, you know, lack of good positive role models, you know, association with gang activity, that kind of thing. What have you done to kind of compare and make sure to improve your family situation when you look at, you know, the family you grew up in and then the one that you head now?
Yeah, I think it's important to do the backstory. My grandmother came from a family of 18. They had 18 kids to make sure everyone could work on the farm. She left at 13 on her own. Got pregnant with my mother, and she had 12 kids of her own. She wasn't able to take care of all 12. She had to give my mother away to one of her sisters. So my mom was living in such abject poverty, she would eat dirt sometimes to keep her stomach full. My mom, you know, did the best she could, but she ended up getting pregnant by my dad. My dad had an 8th grade education, and you know, it was something that they didn't want to become a reality. And of course, you got all kinds of trauma in both of their backgrounds. And my dad ends up, you know, incarcerated, drug addicted. And my mom is struggling to figure out how to raise a kid by herself. She's trying to put the pieces together. She didn't grow up with a family structure or a healthy, you know, she grew up with a lot of dysfunction. So dysfunction is all she knew. So a lot of her boyfriends and just people that I engaged with and interacted with, it was just a lot of chaos and dysfunction. And so I would love to just tell y'all, like, you know, and then one day it all changed and everything was great. But it was a process, one, to understand what I had come through. And oftentimes you can't just look at people and say, what's wrong with you? You have to say what happened to you. And I had to look at what happened to me to become the man that I am today. I've been married to my wife. I met her at 18. We've been married for 18 years. We have 3 amazing kids. And man, there's so many pieces of that puzzle that I could go into detail about, but what I would just say is, man, the biggest thing has been investment. There were people along the way who just invested in me in ways unimaginable. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for being so open and sharing that. You know, our organization, we talked about this, we focus on strengthening families and relationships. So how has your own family today influenced your life, and what role do they play in your music, in your career?
Oh, man. You know, my family is a big piece of my motivation because I'm trying to break cycles. I'm trying to constantly break cycles and encourage my kids to become cycle breakers. I'm letting them know that my ceiling is their floor. And so I'm still, you know, just trying to put them in a position where they understand, like, hey, everything that I've built for you to go to the next level and for you to continue that pattern going on. Like I said, my dad didn't finish the 8th grade. He spent most of his time in and out of prison and addicted to drugs and homeless. all my uncles who raised me were gang members and they've been in and out of prison themselves. So the very fact that, you know, my kids are being raised with an in-home father is a massive deal. That's step one. Step two is an involved father. And then step three is I incorporate them in not just like in the name, in the songs, but I incorporate them in the world that I live in so that they can learn. A lot of times we just try to tell our kids like do good in school, but I want them to come alongside me. I take them on trips with me. I show them the industry. I make them intern at the label, all kinds of stuff like that, just to keep them in the mix. Yeah.
A lot of people that maybe didn't have a father might use that as an excuse. And so my question to you is how'd you learn? How'd you figure out the things you needed to do to be a good father?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was at this juvenile detention center, and there were these two twins, and both of these twins were in there, and I didn't know, you know, their story, and you know, I thought that they were both incarcerated in there, but one of them was visiting the other. So one of the twins came to visit, and they're having a conversation, and the twin who's outside of the detention center saying, "Hey, I'm gonna graduate. I'm on an honor roll. I'm planning on going to college." And I was just like, "That's crazy." And I just had to ask him. I said, "Hey, man, you know, your brother is going to college and doing all this stuff, like, and you locked up in here, what's going on?" And he said, "Man, the reason why I'm in here is because my dad was an addict, my dad was a gang member, my dad was in the streets, and so that's the only life I knew, so that's what I did." And then I went and talked to his brother. I said, "Bro, what was your inspiration?" And he said, "My dad was an addict, my dad was in the streets, my dad was a gang member, that's the reason why I'm not in here." So a lot of it is how you look at it. A lot of times you look at the glass as half empty or half full. I've had to look at it as half full. Like, okay, you know what? When I got to the 9th grade, I said, my dad didn't get here. I can keep going. You know, it just kept being motivated, take another step, take another step, take another step.
That's amazing. Man, so obviously you faced, yeah, that's a clap. Please clap. That's so exciting. You have faced and overcome some really significant challenges, obviously, and seeing your glass as half full, that is so inspirational. Can you talk about a time when you struggled the most and share what helped you overcome some of those obstacles? Is there one time that stands out more than the rest?
Oh man, a time that I struggled the most. I mean, my whole childhood was chaotic. You know, my first time, I got brought home by the police at 12, and you know, I thought it was a rite of passage. But what I would say is this. I would say that along my journey, there was a 12-year-old kid who was getting brought home by the police, who turned into a 16-year-old kid who was getting arrested, who turned to an 18-year-old who was in trouble. And the crazy part about it is, each step of the way, there was somebody there who was investing. It was a 3rd grade teacher, and then it was a 8th grade teacher, and then it was a counselor at the Boys and Girls Club. There was just always somebody who saw something that I didn't see. And I think that was the most important thing I needed, was just people who would invest, people who would say, "I believe in you," like, "I believe in you." And you kind of shrug it off and like, whatever, but you really did need that along the way. And so what I would say the pivotal moment for me, one of the pivotal moments for me, eye-opening moments for me, was I was out late one night, about 18 years old, and I had gotten in some trouble with the police, and I was struggling at that point in time, you know, just trying to figure out what up and down was. My grandmother was a woman of faith. She'd always be praying. She gave me this Bible, and I got arrested. I had some stuff in my car. I won't say what the stuff was, but stuff that you sell, stuff. So he looked in my car and he saw that Bible, and he said to me, "Do you read that?" I said, "I need to." He said, "Well, I want you to, you know, to check this out, and I want to believe that you can be different. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing a police officer has ever said to me. I'm literally sitting in the back of the car handcuffed. And I don't know why he believed something about me. I don't know what it was. In my mind, I can only imagine like he's like, this kid is trying to figure it out because he's got drugs and a Bible in the same car.
Wow.
And he said, get out of my car, go home, and do right. And I was like, is this a joke? I get out the car, obviously the drugs are gone, the Bible is there, and it was like, I had a new lease on life. I didn't take it like I should, but it was a moment that stood out in my brain that says, this man believes something about me that I don't even believe about myself. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. I think you were visited by an angel that day. Maybe that wasn't a man. Transitioning just a little bit, you're on the road a lot and touring a lot. How do you preserve and protect your family and your relationships today?
Prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. You got to prioritize. That's what I've learned just being out here is, you know, a lot of times when you come from a low income background, you think money is everything and you gotta get the money first, money, money, money. And you don't realize that because you lived in dysfunction so long, you don't know what a healthy family is. So one, I had to learn about what it means to have a healthy family. I was reading books, I was meeting with older, wiser people, and I started to prioritize. And so now, you know, this is the way I prioritize things, and stay with me because it might sound weird. I put myself first. I know that sounds selfish. Stay with me though. If I am not emotionally, mentally, and spiritually healthy, I'm no good for anybody else. So I make sure I'm healthy. I make sure I'm taking care of myself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And then I take care of my wife, because now I have something to offer her. If I'm stressed, drained, not healthy, I'm not good for her. So then it's my wife. And, you know, when I come home and the kid's like, Daddy, you know, I kick him out the way and I run to my wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Run away. But here's the thing. They're not mad about that. They're not mad because all they really want is their parents to be together, to stay together. That's all I would have wanted was that dynamic. So after her and I connect, then myself and the kids connect. And then my third priority is how I'm providing for them. And if I have anything left over, man, I give it to the world. You know what I mean? That's how I prioritize.
Thanks for giving some of it to us tonight. We appreciate that.
You're a strong advocate for mental health. All right, and which, you know, at a time was very unusual for men, for black men at that, and for people that came from some of the backgrounds that you came from. Can you tell a little bit about how that has played a role in your life and encourage others that may, you know, be hesitant to do the same?
Yeah, I think people are scared to talk about mental health because it makes you look weak. But honestly, owning something is a form of strength. Like, admitting that you have a struggle is a form of strength because you're strong enough to admit it. And, you know, some studies say that, you know, trauma can live in your system and you can even pass it on generationally, right? I do know that genetically I'm more prone to being anxious and depressed because my grandmother struggled with it, my mom struggled with it, and then of course my dad was probably self-medicating his own mental health issues. So a lot of times in our community, we deal with mental health with self-medication. We drink ourselves or drug ourselves to cope with the mental health issues that we had. And I knew I didn't want to go down the road of becoming an addict, but I also didn't know how to deal with my mental health and my struggles. And so all the stress and the pressure of trying to be what I've never seen started to weigh down on me. And I started to find myself unable to sleep, but I thought it was no big deal. You know, just take a shot and pop a pill and go to bed. What I wasn't realizing is that all of the trauma, the childhood trauma that I experienced, it's like a glass, and that glass has a paper towel around the top of it with a rubber band. And every bit of trauma is like a drop of water on that paper towel. Just another drop, just another drop. And as I got older, because I had never taken care of my mental health, it was one drop too many. the paper towel broke through, and I found myself in like a clinical depression.
Yeah.
And I really was in a place where I had to get help. You know, I hope people don't have to be there. I wish I would have got therapy before that, but that clinical depression put me in a place where, you know, I was so in such a dark place I couldn't imagine even being around anymore. And I knew that that wasn't a healthy place to be, so that's when I said I gotta get some help. And I didn't know how to do it. You know, I didn't know what to do, so I don't recommend you do what I did. I just called 911, because I was like, hey, I'm dying, something's wrong with me. And then you gotta go to a mental hospital, and that's not where you wanna be. It's not a fun place. It's a little chaotic. So I recommend you go to therapy now, so you can avoid the mental hospital. It's like jail with doctors. This is what it felt like. So that just put me in a bad position where I was like, I don't ever want to be here again. And from there, I said, man, I got to do something to take care of my mental health, and started meeting with a therapist. And we just started to unpack stuff. And the first thing the therapist said to me was this. The therapist said, so I want you to understand something. You grew up in this broken home. 2 sick people does not make a well person. So it's okay. It's not your fault. It's okay to get some help and to work through it. Man, I've been a new man for years because of that, homie. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever been in an interview where they get claps after every answer.
Every single answer deserves a clap.
No, it's amazing though. So, when all is said and done, what is it that you really hope that your legacy says? What's your legacy?
Man, people ask me that a lot, like, what do you want your legacy to be? And a lot of times I think we confuse legacy with inheritance. Inheritance is what you leave to people, but legacy is what you leave in people. So I want to leave an impression in people. I want people to understand that they are wonderful and fearfully made. I want them to understand they have purpose and that they are more than what society says. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. I really, like, there's no man in my family who is on a trajectory that I'm on. Like, I have a family full of gang members and drug addicts and incarcerated individuals. And a lot of the people who are older than me look up to me now, you know, and I've been able to inspire my cousins and my uncles and really change the family dynamic. And it's not because I hit the lottery, it's because of just day by day chipping away at things and just working hard. And I just want people to understand, like, you are the cycle breaker, you are the legacy builder. You may not even realize that, but it starts with you. And you can decide, no. You can say, no, I don't have to follow these standards and these trends. Other thing I would just want to say is this. If that's not your story, you have the chance to invest in somebody. Like, teachers planted a seed, counselors watered it, you know, therapists cultivated the soil, but there were just people behind the scenes who had the means to do things for me that I didn't have. And so if those people wouldn't have stepped in, like I had a teacher when I was in like the 6th grade who saw I was gifted, and she took time out of her own schedule to stay after school and just talk to my mom and say, can I meet with him after school because I want to cultivate a gift that he has. That type of stuff just doesn't happen. So people don't realize that they have that opportunity to really transform lives. Just make a little investment in people and you never know what can happen. Yeah.
Please clap, another clap. Oh, Lecrae, that's so amazing. Okay, so this is our last question, okay? As we wrap up this portion of the night, what words of encouragement, you've given so many, so I don't know how you're gonna answer this, but what words of encouragement would you like to leave with our audience tonight, especially those in the room who are working hard to build healthy relationships and strong families?
Yeah, I said it a million times, but I'm gonna say it on both ends of the spectrum. I'm gonna say, like, you know, investment is everything. You have to make an investment in yourself and your family. You gotta make those deposits. I'm gonna just tell you a true story, funny story. When I first got married, my wife and I lived in the hood. We didn't know a lot about anything. So we live in the hood, we sleep on the floor, gunshots going through the windows at night, neighbors getting killed. It was chaos, right? But I was trying to figure out how to be a good husband. I'm like, oh, I still want to be a good husband to this woman. Like, so do I? I'll just lay on top of her when the bullets are flying. That's what but so we don't have a lot of money, but I saved my money. I was learning how to save, and I asked some friends who had money. I shouldn't have asked them, but I said, hey, it's our first anniversary. I need to do something special for it. What should I do? And they said, you need to go to Tiffany's. And I was like, who is that? Introduce me to Tiffany. You know what I mean? Like, who's Tiffany, right? So they said, no, bro, trust me, it's a store. You got to go there. Now, they didn't know my background, what I was dealing with. So I'm like, I walk into Tiffany's. I look at the prices. I walk out of Tiffany's. And I'm like, bro, does Tiffany have a cousin named Tamika or Tasha or something? You know what I mean? So they said, trust me, if you want to invest in her life, man, you got to buy her this bracelet or something. So I'm like, man. So I spent my last little money on this bracelet. We just paid it off yesterday, matter of fact. But I bought her this bracelet. And I wanted big tears. I wanted like snot bubbles, because I never seen a healthy marriage. I don't know what this looks. I seen television, so I don't know. I'm thinking it's gonna be like the movies. And she's like, why did you buy this? Like, we don't have this kind of money. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like upset, because this is not what I wanted. You know what I mean? So I felt like it was a wasted investment. But fast forward, my daughter years down the line is about 7, and she looks at my wife's bracelet and she says, Mommy, I want that bracelet when I grow up so I can give it to my daughter, and then she could give it to her daughter, and then she could give it to her daughter. And I didn't even realize that strain I was putting, that thing I thought wasn't effective was really a different kind of investment I hadn't even thought of. It was legacy. So my encouragement to everybody out here is like, the thing you think you're doing that you like, this might not work or this might not mean much, it does. You don't know what it can mean. You don't know the type of effect it can have. So invest in your family, invest in other people's families. Like, just do the small thing that you would never imagine could change the trajectory of somebody's future. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. You've been awesome.
That was an honor.
You've been amazing. And so, can y'all give Lecrae one more round of applause?